So we're going to talk about the shadow tonight, and no, we're not going to be asking for anybody's confessions. So I'm going to get out of this. All right. So the shadow is kind of, it's an interesting topic. It's something that a lot of people talk about, and there's all kinds of ways that and techniques that people are using to get at shadow work. And so you'll find a lot of different techniques out there how to deal with the shadow. So I asked, what is Jungian shadow work? In Jungian psychology, the concept of the shadow refers to the unconscious aspect of our personality that contains repressed or hidden qualities, traits, desires, and impulses that we may find unacceptable or uncomfortable to acknowledge. These can include traits that society deems negative or undesirable, such as anger, jealousy, greed, or selfishness, as well as aspects of ourselves that we are ashamed of or have suppressed due to societal conditioning or personal experiences. The shadow is often formed in childhood as we learn to adapt to societal norms and expectations, leading us to repress certain aspects of ourselves in order to fit in or avoid rejection. However, these rejected parts of ourselves do not disappear. Instead, they remain buried in the unconscious, influencing our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors from behind the scenes. So I wanted to read that just to get a good idea of what the conventional wisdom is about shadow work, because ChatGPT reflects that. So, and there's an aspect of it that I think we should talk about, and that is it's somebody's fault, right? All those things we have hidden in there, somebody else's fault. And here are the two guys. It's these guys' fault. These are the culprits here. So this one is the centaur, of course, half man, half horse. And then this is the Michelangelo depiction of, or Leonardo da Vinci, one of the two, the Vitruvian Man. So, and this is the human form, and the symbol means that man is the microcosm of the macrocosm. And so there are all kinds of philosophies packed around that to show how we are analogous to the one being that we live in. So, but the point is that evolutionarily speaking, these bodies that we inhabit, they were here. They were already here before we got here. Now, they may not look like this at all, but there was a point at which humankind, Homo sapiens, came into being, that something else happened. Our consciousness is orders of magnitude greater than just about anything else on the planet, because we have this prefrontal cortex thing going on. So, but when that happened, when we came into self-awareness, it unnaturally split us from our bodies. See, we used to be like the centaur. We were like an emerging human being, but we still had that animal body, and it ran the show. But when we became self-aware, that brings in a whole new kind of consciousness wherein we know that there's a future, that we are subject to it. We know that there's a past that we can learn from. All of this is because we've got this up here. And so it's an unnatural state, you might say, that we have we have a combination of two things that are very, very different. We have this physical body, and then we have the Spirit of God that is entering into this plane of manifestation through us. That's a strange pair of bedfellows. That's like spirit and matter, the most difficult thing ever. So that said, we still have these bodies. We're pulling them around. They get old and they get fat, and they're just not very much fun the longer you go with one. But it has its own programming, and that programming is all about survival. That means that the human body is built to eat, to hunt, to take, just like any other animal. And if we come into competition with another kind of species, then we're going to dominate. That's the core current of intelligence that moves through this body, is to dominate. It's to survive. But along with domination, there's also the cooperation. But we cooperate so that we can stay unified and protect ourselves from other groups. This is kind of the evolutionary biology take on it. So what that means is, instead of all of our shadow elements being the result of what we experienced early in life or any kind of cultural conditioning, there's a dimension to the shadow that is so far below all of that. It is below even our ability to be conscious of. It's like it's permanently unconscious, and it's all of those drives that keep this body alive, both in the outer world and in the inner world. It wants to survive. It has to survive. So we're dealing with that. That's kind of but it's a sub-visible platform or software going on in the background. We just don't see it in operation. So like with the will to survive, which is all this, it's all the physical, that's going to show itself in the most innocuous acts. You'd be dropping a letter in the mailbox, and that will to survive will have its part in that. You see, you can go get gas in your car, and you get out of your car, and that informs your vigilance, the care you take with the gas pump, all of that stuff. That will to survive is there, whether you're giving somebody a goodnight kiss or you're at war. That will to survive is always there with us. So the trick to shadow work, trick's not the right word, of course, but the way we approach shadow work is to use the energies and not try to kill them. We don't want to heal ourselves of the shadow. For instance, that deep-seated urge to survive, we wouldn't want to kill that, because that same current of intelligence that runs the body is the same current that keeps us from touching a hot stove. So if we were to heal ourselves of that will to survive, we wouldn't survive, not for very long. So the same is the same with the other shadow elements. You know, we've got anger, and we've got fear, and we've got shame and lust, all kinds of, along the line of those 7 deadly sins things. We have all of those elements in there. Are we sure that we want to heal those? Like if you could just flip a switch and make those things go away, would you be doing the right thing? Would you be doing the spiritual thing or the healthy thing? But see, that's the approach a lot of people have toward the things that they're ashamed of, do not want to look at even themselves, let alone let anybody else see. All of that stuff, they would rather fix it. You see? And this is not what we do with the shadow. If you were to take all of these elements and just kind of give them a dial showing how much energy they had, they'd be pretty much close to pinned, at maximum. So, but all of that energy is being stuffed and it's being blocked when we don't acknowledge the shadow. So when we do look in those places we don't want to see, that energy gets released. And it's extraordinary. You can tell if you've done effective shadow work because when you wake up in the morning, you're going to have 10 times the energy you normally have. That's what happens when you go in and, I didn't say heal or fix, just look at it. That's all you have to do is just see it. Say, oh, wow, that's what kind of person I am. I can't pretend to be a good person because I just saw something in me that is not good. So you look in there and it's realizing something about yourself. And there's a really good test for this. If you take somebody like a criminal who is robbing a bank and he's just about to get out the door, but then, the cops show up. So he grabs a customer and threatens to kill her. So the cops will let him go. So I'm going to ask you a question, and I think I know the answer. So I'm going to give you the answer first, then I'm going to ask you the question. The answer is, that's not the kind of person I am. I would never do that. So now the question is, if you're the bank robber, what would you do? Did I get the answer right? First of all, I would never rob a bank. And second of all, I would never threaten somebody's life. Right?
Yeah, that was probably one of my answers. Sure.
Yeah. Yep. And so we've already touched on this raging horseman, this dominating will to survive. That's part of that's like the part of our physical makeup. That's hardwired into us. And so if something like that comes up in you, and especially if it's something that bothers you a lot when you hear about it, especially if that little story I just told you, if that really got an emotional response in you, that would be, technically speaking, a really strong indicator that you've got that in you. You see, that's where the reaction comes from. So these reactions that we get are very, very valuable. Because if we react to something that shocks us or makes us think that it's horrible, then that's like rubbing an open wound, a sore spot. That's an indicator. Your shock or your disgust, those are indicators that there's something in there, that the thing that you don't like is resonating with. In other words, there's part of you that identifies with the thing that you don't like, that you can't tolerate. This is just the mechanics of it. Because if you don't have any of that in you, that incident, that thing will not bother you. You'll be able to stay steady in it and then deal with whatever the situation is in an appropriate way. But if you haven't owned that in yourself, then it shocks you, and then you react in inappropriate ways because it's overblown, right? That's another way you can tell if you've got something in there that you're not aware of, is that you've heard a lot of people say, after they do something stupid and they say, I don't know what came over me. That's just not me. That's not me. I don't know how that happened. You see, this is how it happens. If there's something in you that you're not conscious of and you don't want to be conscious of, it's going to crash the party. Just count on it. All it takes is a perfect storm, perfect circumstances, this little trigger, and boom, there it is. So, but now here we go full circle around thinking, boy, I'd sure like to get rid of those. You know, wouldn't it be better just to not have those kinds of urges and dark spots in us, dark spots on our soul? And I'm telling you, that's not the right approach. The right approach, because all of those things, that's where all of your energy is locked up, completely locked up. So you don't want to get rid of these things. You want them to open up and let go of the energy that they're blocking from you. So here's how to do it. Say you're okay, this is an easy one. You're in traffic. Somebody cuts you off, and then you wind up window to window with them, and you look over, and you know what you want to say, right? Or what you want to do. But that's not you, right? So here it is. And this is a good one because this one we always give ourselves permission for to do. So, but there it is, you see. So what you can do with that is you can acknowledge, yeah, that's it. That's me. I want to cuss this person out. So there's that energy of it, and it has a flavor. It has a tactile sensation to it. You know, it's that energy. So you take that energy and you do something good with it. You see, but it's the same energy. You don't dress it up or disguise it. Inside, you're going, you son of a bitch, right? But on the outside, you're going to take that same energy and you're going to maybe look over, and if there's eye contact, just kind of wave and just do something neutral at least, right? So what you've done is you've taken that energy that's been hiding in there and you've given it an outlet. This is kind of like training a horse or any kind of an animal. You get it to do something different, something a little bit more different, a little bit more different. So this element in us gets trained to do something a little bit different. Let me show you something else here. Okay, so this is, did you all see the horse whisperer? This is a story about this guy played by Redford. He's playing the part of a guy named Buck Brannahan, he's like an animal psychic, but with horses. And the process that they have, her horse is traumatized, and in the process of healing the horse, he has to break the horse essentially, because the horse is in full-fledged rebellion. And so there's a, let's see. No, this is this one. All right. Yeah. So in this scene here, where they've wrestled, not wrestled, but harnessed the horse and made him lay down on the ground, which is a real submission thing. And it was kind of freaking out the Scarlett Johansson character because it seemed too harsh. But it was the only thing that would heal this horse. You see, so it kind of gives you an idea of how you can love these inner elements, these darker elements in yourself. It takes you have to be willing to undergo pain or harshness or discipline in order to make the connection. You acknowledge the urge, whatever it is, and then you take the energy of it without trying to hide it or disguise it, and you channel it into any action that's constructive, good, kind, helpful, all of that. And you're taking that essentially negative energy, you're channeling up, and you're just turning it slightly into a new way of expression. But it still has that punch in it, you see? It's like if you're ever having to give a speech, a public speech, and too many butterflies, what you do is you get angry. You get really, really angry. And then you approach the podium and you've got that energy, but with a smile. You see, that energy then puts you in a position where you're no longer destroying yourself, undermining yourself. So this kind of energy, that raw aggression, you never, ever want to kill that. And so that's why, and the young girl she senses that. That's kind of at the root of her caring her concern, is that she's afraid that the animal's spirit will be damaged. You see, so she's coming at it from a wisdom standpoint, and he's coming at it from a practical standpoint. But it's when those two aspects of ourselves come together, the very compassionate but very practical, when those two come together and work in concert in dealing with these energies that come up, you will be able to free all of the energy that's trapped. And it'll not only enable you to do just more work, but it'll enliven you. It'll boost your immune system. It'll make you healthier, keep you younger longer, because it's all this vital life Kundalini energy. Magical stuff. It's the elixir. So, okay, why don't we open it up for discussion? You just unmute yourselves. And what does all this bring up for you?
Oh, hey, Mike. For me, I mean, it always goes back to the since we've ever came aware as a humankind, that constant battle of, are we an animal or are we human? And some will say not every person is human based on how they behave. I mean, isn't that the fight to become a higher being, so to say? And I'm not sure if this coincides with what you're trying to say, that, like every day, self-reflection, right? How was my day? What did I do? What did I say? Do you reflect? I'm a little confused about not killing certain things, or that core of you, I guess. I'm not really sure what you're getting at when you're saying, maybe I can explain like this, like as a man, men love rough sports, right? So back in the day, it was gladiators. That's a little rough, but we still want to, as a man, we like to, go in the gym and spar, or play football. So we don't, like gladiator times, kill each other, but we still like to roll around and get dirty and get some sweat going,
Yep.
I'm not sure if, if I'm getting that right. I'm not sure. Buddy.
No, you are. You are. So yeah, the main thing is that yeah, we want to do those things, and that's the energy within us, and it is for our good. But how often do we let that energy out, and it makes us do something that gets us a bad reputation, or and then so then that on the inside there's fear, there's panic about that, and you stuff that down. You don't want to let that out anymore ever again. But if it's something like aggression, then it's gonna cause you to wilt like a flower that's not getting enough nourishment.
Well, it's like you don't want to be that guy all the time. So,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, so somehow, whether it's, as iron sharpens iron, man sharpens his fellow man, right? So somewhere in life, someone needs to help guide you, say, hey, Bill, you gotta check that, man. Let's talk. I don't know. You know, life's too short. Don't go
Yeah,
into a bar and want to get in a fight with the first guy that rubs you wrong. Whatever the issue is, or in the car thing.
exactly.
So I get where you're coming at with this. I think
Yeah, yeah. The thing is not to condemn that person in you, right? So you got that guy in you, and the thing is you want to love it, but love it like a loving father would love it. And so you embrace the energy, but you guide it. So you go into a bar and you're feeling like, yeah, I would like to get into a fight here. But because you're waking up and you are practicing self-reflection, like you said, and that's what separates unconscious human beings from conscious human beings, is their ability to self-reflect, to go over their actions and to judge them accordingly, according to abstract principles. That's what makes us different.
is
So
this more like an alchemical conversion? Let's say maybe
yeah,
whether your
yeah.
fear is it's fear, but convert it to something better. So let's use the analogy again back in the bar, right? Instead of going,
Mhm.
I want to go slug it out with somebody. How about I make a good friend and we chug some beers and laugh and somehow change that fear into something else,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Is that what we're
See,
looking at?
yeah, and a good intermediary step with that would be to get really witty, right? And do
Sure.
that guy banter, because guys who can do that really well, they have sublimated that desire to punch somebody at least into like verbal sparring now, you see? And it sharpens the brain. It sharpens the mind. That's what all that testosterone does. It sharpens the mind. It makes it real one-pointed. We can only keep our minds on one thing at a time. So that's the thing. See, you've got to let it come out. You've got to let it, you don't, when I say embrace it, that doesn't mean act out. What it means is that you let it retain its identity and its spirit. The spirit is the spirit of punching somebody, right? That's the spirit of it. So you let that same spirit come out, but you turn it. And instead of punching somebody, you do something for them. See, this is loving your enemy. This is the practical application of loving your enemy. It's taking that desire to kill him and turning it. So then whatever you do, especially if it's out of good or not even just good, but something true, just take the moral value off of it and just say something true. When you take that energy and you apply it in that way, you're not going to kill them physically, which is what the energy wants to do, but you're going to kill something about them that shouldn't be there. Maybe it would be his pride, maybe it would be his lack of self-esteem, like he didn't respect himself. Maybe taking that killer energy and channeling it through doing for the person, you take that same cutting, powerful energy, and instead of it being a hatchet, becomes a scalpel. You see, with laser focus. That's how genius is developed. That's how, especially men, I don't know, women are going to have to speak for them. Somebody's going to have to tell me what you guys do, but what we do is we take that energy and we sublimate it, we turn it and apply it to something positive. You see, and it's a very willful, very pointed, laser hot intention. Did I just step in it? You can unmute yourselves. You guys are all on mute. There you are, Julie.
I will share an experience
Okay.
that kind of, I think, goes along with what we're talking about. And I don't know where I fit in on the spectrum of this, but we had a woman living in our home, living in my living room, sleeping on my sofa bed that she kept out 24/7. And she had severe dementia. She's actually the mother of 2 of my husband's children. So she was his first wife. And people have called me a saint for letting her live in my house. But the alternative to that was having her die on the street within a week to 10 days because she would not have survived. She began a weird habit of going between, there's like a walkway between the 2 parts of my house. And she began a habit of going back and forth between the 2 houses. And in the process of doing this, she would let one of my cats out of the house. And I talked to her about this endlessly. And one of the times when I was not home, she let the cat out of the house. And in this particular case, the cat did not come home alive. It didn't survive. We found it a couple days later near the house on the road. And I was very upset. I'd raised it from a little tiny baby kitten. And I just kind of kept that in me, that anger, that frustration, that wanting to strike out somehow, kept it in me for probably 2-3 weeks, however long it was. And then one day I just went up and I screamed at her. And I didn't say anything. I just screamed, and I did it repeatedly. And she says, "I'm going to call the police." And I said, "It's not illegal to scream." And I screamed again. And I must have screamed for 2-3 minutes solid. And finally, when she says, "I'm going to kill you," I stopped and I went and did something else. And I was shaking from all this. 2 weeks later, approximately, situation happened. She was no longer in our house. She was taken up to the hospital. They kept her. She's still up there, actually, waiting for a long-term care situation. But within a very, very short time of my doing that, she was no longer in my house, which was the biggest relief to me because she had caused all kinds of problems the whole time that she'd been there. But I didn't have any way that I felt like I could have her leave. There was no place for her to go. And somehow that screaming created somehow a situation, heavenly or somehow, that allowed her to be no longer in my house. Now,
see, here's what happens, Julie. Let me
screaming had to come from a shadow place because it was not happy screaming.
Oh yeah, it's like a primal scream, right?
Yeah, it was. I was exhausted afterwards.
Yeah. So here's how things like that happen, because we're culturally conditioned to be compassionate on people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she has dementia, and so we're expected to overlook a lot of stuff. But not everyone's like that, right? You find these rare individuals who they are right on it, like just a small infraction that this woman might have done, they would catch it like immediately and not be nice about it, right? And by that I mean they would be direct, because everybody can tell when somebody's being direct with them. It has an entirely different feel to it. But we don't use that because we're supposed to be nice, which means not direct, right? You always want to come at
Right.
the person's ego from the side, never head on, that kind of thing. But and that's true, you don't, but you've got to have that energy available. You see, you can come on nice, but you have that energy coming through that, you see? And so you can be direct. If you're direct if you know you're direct within yourself, it will show. But if you're trying to stuff being direct because being direct is not nice, see, then you're basically screwed, because everybody will take advantage of you. You will have no voice, by which to navigate through life. And like you, Julie, you'll give her rope and give her rope and give her rope, and then wham.
I mean, you know me. I probably did
Yep,
that for a long time.
yep, yep, yep. Give them enough rope to hang themselves, and boy, comes with a real
Then they hang
sharp
you.
jerk. Yeah, right. Yep.
But that that I feel, looking back on it, because it happened way last summer. Looking back on it, it seems like that was energy from what you're talking about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's just, it came out because it had to come out.
It had to.
Yeah.
I felt so much better after that, actually.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But just imagine if you had taken all of that energy that came out all at once and had spread it across the whole span of her time being there, then the whole situation might have taken a whole different path.
Might have, however, her dementia was so severe, she would not remember what she told you and agreed to 5 minutes before.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, then,
So
but that same energy, Julie, can change the whole situation. Like, if she was that bad, then with that energy, you might have been able to remove her to
we
something
tried.
better, right?
She is now. She's in the hospital, actually,
Yeah,
waiting
because
for,
all that energy came out.
yes. But that's my experience with what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Is
it's a good
I
example.
used it, and within like a week or two, she wasn't at our house anymore. She was there somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, who else? See, these are good stories, right? We can tell stories like this. Nobody's gonna. All right,
Oh,
let's
I
see.
was gonna say, hi there.
Hi.
I was going to say about reflecting on inner things that go on um, in relation to, like I had a situation once, and it seems to unfold a little at a time. A little parts of it unfold as I recognize more about myself. So I had an episode with, a family member years ago, and I kind of like, cut off being around that person just because it was just too hostile to be in company with. And even like the mention of that person in my life would bring up things, like I would have feelings about it even when someone would mention their name. And I started to recognize, behaviors about myself um, when I would think about that person. And even just recently, something was mentioned where, they were still trying to antagonize me from a distance by, telling mistruths. And just by saying false things, I was still having a reaction to that kind of speech because I knew it was untrue. And, I had to recognize in myself, what it was that, why it was bothering me. Like, why am I still having that pull, that reaction, just from the same person? It's like, until I feel like I really, can hash out all those things with that person or hash it out within myself and kind of disconnect, or look at, right up close and see what it is that, I'm still in need of to let
Yeah.
go of.
Well,
It'll
don't turn
still,
it,
yeah, go ahead.
don't turn it into something psychological. This is spiritual work. So you take that energy, you let the energy show you. The energy will show you what to do. You see, so you don't have to peel back layers of onions. That's really doesn't work because those layers are infinite. They never end. So what you take the energy of that feeling and you use it. You just use it, but you put it in a different mold, a different form, you see. So when that comes up, when he says something or something like that comes up in memory, that's the energy. That feeling, that's the energy. You want to get to know that energy.
Mm.
But I bet that that's the last thing you want to do. You want to get away from that feeling because it's not a good feeling.
Mm.
You gotta do it. It's an ugly thing, but you gotta embrace it
Yeah,
because it
sometimes
is.
it's really difficult to be in the energy that is so off-putting, or you feel the pain of it,
Yeah,
like without
yeah,
even, it's like you can just hear it and you can sense it, it permeating your own energy. And you're
yeah,
saying, get me out of there.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I need to
But what
turn
you want to
that.
do, yeah, just confront it in a loving way and say, what are you trying to tell me? What do I need to know?
Mm. Yeah.
You're dealing with blocked energy, and blocked energy knows exactly where it wants to go. So let it show you.
Mm.
But you're in
Yes.
the driver's seat. You're in the driver's seat, right?
Right.
So it'll be like riding a Brahma bull, maybe, but it won't be the bull won't be bigger than you. You're big enough to handle it because otherwise it won't come out. We only deal with as much as we can handle.
Mm.
There's a mechanical thing about that that just prevents that,
And I
from
think, as a woman too, like we always just want to get along. Like, why can't we
right.
all be friends? But
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes some energies just don't meld so well.
Okay, so we're back to the horse. We're back to the
Hmm.
animal, the lower animal part of us,
Hmm.
you're wired. You are wired not to kill babies. Mothers, I know as outlandish as it sounds, they are wired not to kill their children, right? They are
Most.
wired, they are wired to bond so completely with them that they would give their life in a heartbeat for that child. That's how you're wired. That's the horse part of you. That's something you're not going to get rid of that. You see? So that's why you're conditioned to be nice because nobody wants you to kill babies. That's why it's wrong for women to get angry. Now I'm speaking
Mm.
from the monkey brain, the deep part of us. That's where that bit of nonsense comes from. You see?
Yes.
We're supposed to contain them so they don't kill our babies.
Let me go get my poodle skirt out. Hold on.
It's crazy, but that's the animal thing, right? That's what animals do. You know that uh, a male bear, if he kills the mate of a pregnant female, and takes, you know, so he takes the mate from the bear he just killed. When those cubs are born, he'll kill them too. Because genetically it, you know, works out.
Lions do that. Lions do that too, I think.
Yeah.
A lot of animals.
Yeah, yeah. So are we going to think that we're exempt from that? Is there maybe a little bit of that in us? You know? There's that kind of genetic force that not only causes us to do stupid things, but keeps us upright at the same time. So we can do stupid things. You see, it's a life force that just has a particular programming to it, you know? So, but that's the software. The hardware is how that energy is there, that survival instinct. That's there. We're not changing that. That's hardware. Our software is what we do with it. You see, we can reprogram. It's the software it comes with is kill the babies, you know? But we reprogram that. And in reprogramming it, we take that same current in all of its strength and we put it into something even slightly better, right? And just by degree, then we become more and more and more upright and more refined because we've taken those primal genetic force energies and repurposed them. I really want to impress on you, you don't want to change it, right? You don't want to fix it. This is not a healing process. This is an integration process. And it will grind you up. I mean, there's nothing more grueling than this kind of work. This is stuff that it happens in real time. You know, when you know what real time is. It's like having a baby, you know. Your mind's not elsewhere. So that's the nature of this work. But, oh, and here's this beautiful picture I'm going to show you. So this is a picture of that one of Carl Jung's patients painted. And it was her description of a dream that she had and wanted to, you know, really get it across to her therapist, Carl Jung, and for him to analyze it, you know, to do a dream analysis. And what he came up with was that the woman, of course, is her, it's his patient, and the ocean are all these subconscious energies. That's what deep water symbolizes. She's stuck in the rocks. In fact, she's so stuck, she's actually become one with the rocks. She's really anchored there. But in the middle of those rocks, like the yolk of an egg, is solid gold. So all of her energies are locked up. They're totally solidified in rock, and they contain within them solar energy. That's the sun, always the symbol of life and vitality. All of her vitality is stuck right in there. So that's her condition, right? This is not a permanent condition. This dream is just showing her where she's at right now. It's like a snapshot of her life. And so with that knowledge, then he was able to work with her to break open those rocks, right? She's not even conscious of them, but he gets her in touch with the energy of those things. So any questions?
I'm just thinking what a challenge it's going to be for that pent-up energy to be made into good. Because once it's suppressed and is working its way out and you know, like you experienced, it's coming out and it's coming out with force. To try and control that will be, I'm going to play with it. It's not going to be easy, especially, you know, if it comes out with force, because
Right.
it's
do something that requires force.
Hmm.
But don't hurt yourself, because I'm serious. I'm serious, because when you
So
tap
do
into
something
that
physical,
energy,
you mean?
yeah, yeah, to clean the house, or get a crowbar and take out a cabinet you don't like.
Hmm. Okay, I get it. I get it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. And as far as dealing with these feelings when we're dealing with some other person, we want to do demolition on them. So we take that energy, and you've all seen examples in life, I'm sure, where you've got the real tough uncle who straightens out the kid that won't do anything his father tells him. The uncle is a Marine, and he knows tough love, and he's going to rip this kid a new one, but he's not going to leave, right? He's not there just to beat the kid up. He's there to straighten him out. And that comes out of love. You see, but it's tough love. That's how you rechannel that energy. Instead of killing the kid, you reshape him. He's going to wish he was dead. If you really bring that energy, because that energy does not mess around, right? It's full of expectation and encouragement and an intolerance for feedback. You see? So, and we all have to do that at some point, with somebody at work, somebody in your family, somebody on the street. I was with oh yeah. Yep.
Well, I just had a question, a strange thought. If you're needing to accomplish something that's going to require a great deal of energy, should you look in your shadow to see where you can get that energy from? Or is that
use it like a bank account.
why not?
Yeah, why not? Right? Why not? So, well, here's the advantage of doing that, okay? It's like priming the pump. If that's what you need to integrate your shadow, hey, go for it. Just use it like that, and because the more you use it, the more it'll be integrated, and then the whole thing will get easier, right? You won't have to then, make withdrawals. You can take all that money and invest it.
It was just a thought.
It's a good thought. It's a good thought. I like it. It's like they say don't was it don't wake up a sleeping dog, don't kick a sleeping dog, or no, let sleeping dogs lie. That's it.
Yeah, or cats, either one.
Yeah. Well, no, let sleeping dogs lie. And this, what your approach is, a little bit like kicking that dog.
Yes, it is.
So, you can get a T-shirt, Julie, says "Kick the dog." All right, what else we got? Well, this has been fun. These are, you have to laugh. When you deal with the shadow, you have to laugh. You have to make it fun, because otherwise it can get really obnoxiously heavy, right? You go through,
Right.
if you're dealing with something like fear or anger, that's going to be grueling. You have to, really set your jaw to do that. But a lot of these little things, just let it out a little bit at a time, change it a little bit at a time, and it will bleed off all of that pent up, the explosive part of the energy. And just little by little, more and more, watch your life transform. You'll become a different person. Because everything that's not running now, because it's starved of energy, of vitality, will really kick in. You'll become more expressive. You'll be way more confident, and not easily manipulated or hypnotized or any, recruited for, God knows what. Because when a person deals with these negative energies within themselves, nobody can conquer them. You just don't mess with a person like that because they have all that available energy, and not necessarily physically. It's not like they're going to attack you, but they can really stare you down because they're coming from a place of absolute righteousness because they've done the work. You see, they've braved the fires of hell. When those really painful energies come up, you sit with them and you just feel the flame. Just let yourself be burned. And that'll burn away whatever's blocking the channel, and then you start using that energy. But once you break that seal, then when it starts moving, the more it moves, the more easily it moves. And it won't
volcano.
affect you. Yeah, exactly. You don't want to try to put a cork in
There's
one of those.
there's two kinds of volcanoes. There's the one like Mount St. Helens that blew its top, and then there's one like we have on our island here that oozes a little here and a little there and never stops.
Yep. And that way, instead of blowing the top off a mountain, it's creating new land.
Yes, it is.
Quickly gets covered with jungle. So, that's good. But that explosive kind, it's not good. Not good. Rarely, if ever. Unless you've got
Mike?
some kind of huge wall that you have to blow down, you want to avoid that. Yeah, Bill.
Well, isn't that just kind of like, you don't search for these interactions, so to say, life's daily interactions, or your faith that, the divine, or however you want to call it, the universe, puts people in your life at certain times to help work little things here and there. I'm not looking for an explosive transformational process. I mean, that's a little too much, I would think. It may happen, but generally, isn't it just they're teachable moments? It could be someone online at the store one day, or, we don't never know, correct, when
Right.
these moments happen.
Yeah.
And who's going to be in your life to help you, or help shine some light on the shadow, so to say, call it what you want,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Otherwise known as irritating you.
whatever it may be. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
there's just, it could be little, maybe you might think they're just little tiny little moments that don't mean nothing, but they do if you understand it.
Right.
Some are bigger than others. So we never know.
Yeah.
The Christ conscience is working on us. We don't know. Man, it knows, but we don't know sometimes, right? I mean,
Well, there are always those times when we have, when we're fortunate to have intervention in our personal development. By and large, for the most part, these things happen rather automatically because we draw people into our lives that we need, that fit the little hole, just like a protein on the cell surface of a cell membrane, right? There's a place for it. So those proteins floating around, they're drawn because it fits right there. There's like a magnetic affinity. So that's how these people are drawn into our lives. We radiate. We are constantly transmitting into the universe, into the world, the room, wherever you are. You're transmitting information about you and the kinds of chemical valences you have, the bonds that you're capable of forming and not forming. All of that surrounds us like a cloud of intelligence, a cloud of information. And so we draw the things to our life that come into our lives, mostly, almost always. So then, in other words, to change our life, we change ourselves. That's what that means. We change the frequency and the programming, the thoughts, the feelings. We adjust all of those. So then we start vibrating, transmitting out a different signal that draws different people in different circumstances to us. You see, it's so mechanical. It really is. It's like a law of nature. That's just how it works. There's the consciousness that runs that kind of intelligence is very specific to that. So it's not self-conscious. It's very automatic. You know, in other words, it works like your stomach works. Your stomach doesn't sit there and say, "Oh, look what she's feeding me today." You know, it doesn't have that kind of self-awareness, right? But it's very conscious of what it's doing. And so the way we draw people and things into our lives has that kind of consciousness. It knows what it's doing and it knows exactly how to do it.
So
So
that kind of like almost, we see that like quantum physics may reconcile God in a sense that on an atomic level, in a weird way, you know, we do attract and repel, you know, in a
Yeah.
sense, depending on where we're at.
Right. And the patterns of all of this are so almost infinitely complex. You know, they're just beyond our ability to grasp the depth of it. You know, how much information is packed in every part of reality, right? It's all information. And that's what's called the mind of God. But it's the automatic mind. It's not the awareness. It's just like us. You know, we're not aware of how our stomach works, but it works on its own, but we are aware of it, right? So that's what we are in the midst of all of this automatic, machine-like existence that we're straddling, you know, because we're in a world that's very automatic like that, but we come from a higher spiritual plane, which means causal. We're able to create causes in this automaticity of creation. It just works like an algorithm. It's always working. And we have the ability to tell it what to do. You know, and subtle, you know,
Yeah.
within limits. But that's the nature of the beast, right? And our bodies are like that. These human bodies are one with that. And so they do things automatically. So to change those kinds of addictions or patterns that you don't like, it's not working for you, tearing your life up, you train them just like you would train an animal. You don't want to break the spirit, but you want to redirect it, right? Consistently, persistently, with the plan, with the intention, you know, but especially a plan. Really make it your one thing, the number one thing you need to do, you know, make that top of your list of priorities. That, say if it's anger, you know, get angry. Get angry, be with the anger, be with it, ask it, what are you trying to tell me? And oh boy, the images and the memories, especially memories, they'll just come popping right up. So that's why you have to be with it, right? Because it will show you and you won't like it. If you liked it, it wouldn't have been stuff down in there. So that's the good news. No, just kidding. All right, guys. Unless there's anything more, we should call it quits.
Sounds good. Awesome. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Night.
Good night, Bill. Good night, Mary. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too.
Good night,
Good
Teresa.
night.
Good night, Julie.